Competition always makes people do something different, up the ante and push the envelope to succeed, and that's exactly what Indian-owned, British-born brand Land Rover have been doing of late. They've been furiously rolling out products, all new ones, one after the other. Well, the latest addition to the bunch is Range Rover Velar. Now, this fills a gap and sits neatly between the Range Rover Evoque and the Range Rover Sport. Not only does it fill a gap in their segments, but it's also something different because it's the first time that Land Rover are making a more road-biased or car-like SUV. The Velar is based on the same aluminium architecture that underpins the latest Jaguars like the F-Pace, XE and XF. In fact, there's more aluminium in this car than the F-Pace, and other lightweight bits too, like the composite tailgate and some magnesium bits under the bonnet. But it still weighs in at almost 1.9 tons. Leaving aside the fact that the Velar uses advanced tech under the skin, it's really what's on the outside that draws you in. Tight skinning, minimalistic design and clean lines show you that simple can be sexy too. Now, added in to keep the surfaces absolutely clean are these flush door handles. So when the car is locked, just nothing protruding on this clean surface. One unlock of the key unlocks the driver's side door. The second press of the button unlocks the rest of the doors. You can even lock it with the key. The thing is, it's got an anti-pinch function, so say someone locks it while your hand's still in the door, it won't hurt you. All you have to do is pull your hand away and then it retracts safely. There are other interesting details that make the Velar so distinctive, like the matrix LED headlamps and the quad tail lamps that wrap themselves around the side. Then there are the blackened pillars that make it seem like the glass house just runs right around the car. To add strength, there's a sharp crease that runs around the window line, melding into the bonnet shut line. And all the surfaces curve and flow, letting light and shadow play, creating a dramatic effect. The Indian version sits on 19-inch wheels, and the Velar's perfectly proportioned body, cleanly chiseled lines and brilliant detailing make you feel like the designer took his tools and sculpted this car out of one piece of metal. One can't help but stare. Get inside, switch the ignition on, and at the expense of sounding OTT, I'm going to say this is, oh my God, wow. This central console, this Touch Pro Duo entertainment system that makes its debut in the Velar, is certainly the center of attention. It catches your eye almost immediately. There are dual screens here. The top screen sort of flips out as soon as you start up the car, and you can even angle this screen. So I'm going to go into the settings over here and I can actually tilt the screen angle to make sure it's less reflective when there is more sun, tilt it back for night to make it more visible. So it's just so convenient. The touch is just immediately, it picks it up. There's no lag at all. And of course, this central screen, I have to show it to you, is just something special. You just have to look at the graphics on this. They're just quite incredible. The high-def upper screen controls the main functions like the hands-free telephony, navigation and audio systems, along with the reverse camera, while the lower screen controls the aircon and terrain response system. It is another stunning piece of design. The vivid display with ultra-sharp graphics housed in a smartly angled polycarbonate panel looks truly high-tech and unique. Now they've really done away with all the buttons and everything has become like the smartphone era, either with a swipe, a pinch or a touch, and that applies to the steering wheel controls as well. Now on the steering wheel, if you want to adjust your volume, all you have to do is a simple swipe. However, the cabin isn't completely buttonless. You get 3 rotary knobs, one of which is the volume controller, while the other 2 are multifunction knobs that can be customized by pressing them to operate the blower speed, temperature and even the terrain response system. To be honest, the myriad of functions and icons you get on both screens can be overwhelming at first, but after a day's driving, you get used to it. Despite all that connectivity, you still don't get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and those are features you get even in budget cars now. Now, if you're athletic, you like cycling or swimming, and you're worried you might lose your key while you're out, well, you can always opt to have the activity band. Once you're out of the car, walk round to the back, hold it near the logo, and the car will lock. Finish your activity, have a good swim, a cycle, come back, press the boot release once, hold the key there again, and door will be open, easy access. The key, on the other hand, allows you to open the boot with your foot if your hands are full, and close it too. The boot itself is deep, and a 40-20-40 seat split means you can open up more room. However, the loading lip is high and there isn't much height to store luggage. But that's also because the base of the boot has a full-size spare underneath. This engine feels nice and strong. You get a lusty pull when you floor the throttle. Out on the highway like I am now, overtakes come really easily. It doesn't feel punchy maybe, but that's because the acceleration is absolutely linear and getting up to triple-digit speeds in a flash. It's hard to believe that it's a 2-liter engine. Such is its performance. I barely had to use half throttle in most scenarios. Overtakes came easily, nipping in and out of gaps was a breeze, and on an open road, it just extended its legs with such ease it put a smile on my face. Not only is it athletic, it's extremely refined too. In fact, it's not just engine sounds. Overall, the cabin feels so silent and shuts out external noises superbly. The gearbox swaps cogs smoothly and quickly at most times, but it can get a bit snappy when you floor the throttle. In traffic, this means that you have to be measured because otherwise the car surges ahead all too suddenly at times. Accelerate in a measured manner and it works so well that you'll never really need to use the paddles. When you do use the paddles, the gearbox, even in D mode, does not shift back to auto if you suddenly decelerate or accelerate. It will hold the gear for quite a while. I didn't time it exactly, but I had to stay at a constant speed for about 2 minutes for it to shift back to full auto. This can be irritating, and at most times you have to shift the gear selector to S and back again to D to get back into auto. There are different driving modes. Now I'm in comfort mode, and here the steering is light, which is okay for nipping in and out of traffic gaps. But as you pick up the pace, it just feels overly light and not very consistent. When you're going quicker, dynamic is the mode to be in. It tightens everything up. Steering also feels much better weighted. In fact, the dynamic mode also tethers the car down a bit better and reduces the rocking motion that the Velar tends to have on uneven surfaces. Now, while you can carry a fair bit of speed around corners and you do get a good amount of confidence, especially when it's in dynamic mode, this one's not really a corner carver. It's much better suited to cruising like I'm doing now. Now, though generally the ride is well damped over bumps and potholes, there is an underlying firmness, and when you go over sharper ridges, big potholes that suddenly come up, expansion gaps on bridges, they do filter through. Now, if you're going to spend time in the back seat of the Velar, you'll find there's more than adequate leg room over here. Even full-size adults will be extremely comfortable, but the seat is purely for two. The third passenger will really have to straddle the central tunnel and deal with the console that comes way back into the rear passenger space. You sit quite low, the window line is high, the window area is small, but you never feel hemmed in at the back, and that's thanks to this large panoramic sunroof that really makes it feel open and airy. Road biased it may be, but it still feels at home in the rough. And there is the terrain response that adjusts the electronics and hardware for off-road scenarios. The chunky tires also feel good on the rough. However, the auto-adjustable terrain response is only available on the higher variant. Still, the Velar is capable enough even without it. The Velar isn't as driver-centric as Land Rover claim, and on Indian roads it isn't quite as settled as we would like. Also, being an import, it still is on the pricey side. However, the Velar is an SUV for those who want to make a statement. It looks stellar and the interiors just blow you away. The petrol engine provides the required oomph as well. The Velar is all about emotion. It's a car that you buy with your heart and not your head.